Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Well, for the very first time, at least that I've seen, and according to the space agencies, this right here is the very first interstellar, quote, visitor, or asteroid, as they're calling it, that is shaped like a cigar. So an automated telescope spotted this object that appeared as if it had been dropped on the solar system from above, an angle that suggests that it arrived from elsewhere. And now a team of astronomers have rushed out a paper that describes the object's odd properties and gives it the name Oumuamua, which in Hawaiian roughly means first messenger. Now, before we go any further, if you guys haven't made the connection as to what this object looks like, well, just save it, okay? We'll talk about that more here in a second. But this bizarre cigar-shaped object, first one we've ever seen, I mean, I've never seen an asteroid that looks like this, was first spotted on October 19th by the Pan-STARRS-1 automated telescope system. So they captured the thing, and the automated analysis software hadn't yet identified it. And so further images over the next few days allowed researchers to refine its travel through the solar system, confirming that it was making the most extreme approach toward the inner solar system of any object we've ever seen. In essence, it appeared to have been dropped onto the solar system from above, plunging between the Sun and the orbit of Mercury, and it was also moving extremely fast. And we have literally never seen anything like this object before. But then again, if you watch this channel, we have seen a lot of objects that look just like this throughout the solar system. But again, we'll get to that in just a second. So in this paper they released, they said, well, it doesn't have the shape of a typical comet. It doesn't have a tail coming off of it. And it has a very rich chemical composition on its surface, which leads them to believe that it's more asteroid-like. And of course, at least that's what they're telling the public. And they can't explain where it came from, basically. They're trying to study, well, did it come from just outside the solar system? Was it ejected by some large planet out there in space? But every time they do calculations, they turn up with nothing. And they truly don't understand where this thing came from or how it got here. Now, its close approach to the Sun has curved this object into a somewhat parabolic orbit. After dropping below the plane of the solar system, the object has shot back up above the plane somewhere between the orbits of Earth and Mars. It's now rapidly moving away from all of our telescopes and is going to fade out of view very quickly. So this thing is exiting the solar system as fast as it came. And so before we go any further, just to recap again, we have never seen an asteroid that looks like this. We have never had an object like this enter our solar system. They have no idea where it came from or how it got here. It's also moving at a very strange high speed. And furthermore, what you're seeing here is just an artist's impression. So it's not like they're releasing the actual images of this object, which again makes me suspicious because, of course, they can drum up anything with an artist's impression. And you know, with everything we've seen out there in space, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they have spotted a long, cylindrical object flying quickly into our solar system that, you know, they can just tell the public is an asteroid and put out pretty pictures like this. Let's just say that at least the shape of what we're seeing here is correct. Now, if you guys haven't guessed or, you know, figured out where this is familiar, let me refresh your memory. One of the most talked about and controversial photographs, probably in all ufology, particularly that with regards to our moon, and that all surrounds a photograph that was taken during the Apollo 15 moon mission. Alright, so they were orbiting the moon. They were snapping images of the back side, which is the side that is facing away from us and that we never see, and also happens to be the site, according to countless sources, of all of these alien bases and vehicles and strange activity. And so the UFO community was shocked when it was discovered that sitting inside a crater in this particular photograph, which you can find on the Apollo Image Atlas, and I'll put the link down below, was something very familiar to what we're seeing here, and what could only be described as a giant, cigar-shaped mothership-looking object that appeared to be parked inside of a crater, partially hanging outside of it. And that definitely did not look like it was a part of the moon, and that it had actually been put there, or had been sitting there for who knows how many years. Many people believe that this is an ancient ship that had crashed on the moon or that was abandoned. So the better part of the UFO research community believed that this was a legit alien spacecraft found on the moon, and that furthermore, there was actually a later Apollo mission wherein which astronauts were specifically sent to the moon to investigate this crashed or parked ship, and that is what has become known as the Apollo 20 mission. Now, if you don't know anything about the moon landings, there were multiple missions to the moon, with the last one ending with Apollo 17. Now, what many people don't know is that there were actually 3 more missions that were scheduled to go to the moon: Apollo 18, Apollo 19, and Apollo 20. But after Apollo 17, the government came out and said, well, we've already been to the moon, we have budgetary issues, and so we are scrapping these leftover missions, and we are not going to go back to the moon. However, many people believe that this was simply a cover-up, and that we indeed did continue going to the moon, albeit under secret missions that the public did not know about, one of those being the Apollo 20 mission, which, according to theory, was a secretive joint space mission to the moon that was the result of an American and Soviet collaboration that took place in August of 1976, where they flew over the moon, over this specific site of the alleged craft, and took video and photographic footage of it. Now, some years later, and you've probably seen this footage floating around the web, a series of videos were suddenly released that alleged to show actual footage from this secret Apollo 20 mission. And it was released by a man who goes by the name of William Rutledge, who, along with the footage, stated that, quote, Apollo 20 went to the moon on August 16, 1976. The destination was Isaac D, southwest of the Delport crater on the far side of the moon. The mission was Soviet and American. The crew was comprised of William Rutledge, former of Bell Laboratories, Leona Snyder, CSP of Bell Laboratories, and Alexei Leonov, the Soviet cosmonaut from the former Apollo-Soyuz mission the year earlier. Now, there has been a lot of controversy about this footage, with many people believing that it's real, and many who believe that it was simply fake. It is said that they actually went into this craft and actually found a female alien body of a humanoid nature. And while you could probably make up your mind either way as to whether this is real or not, we do know that the Apollo 20 mission was set to happen, and it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that it actually did indeed happen and was covered up, especially when you consider that the existence of a federal agency like the NRO, which is the National Reconnaissance Office, and its missions of overhead reconnaissance were not declassified until September of 1992. And likewise, down here on Earth, people, particularly that of a man by the name of Bob Lazar, was talking about the existence of places like Area 51 long before the government actually admitted that it existed. And so I don't think anything is out of the realm of possibility here. And so many of you have probably seen this photo one time or another, and of course, many years later, NASA came out with more high-resolution versions, which basically looked completely different. But then again, as we know, would you really expect NASA to release more high-resolution images without completely editing them and recreating the landscape? And on the other hand, that is what is so great about these Apollo images taken during the 1970s, because they had to use film footage. There was no computers, there was no data being sent back. These photographs were snapped on film, which then had to be brought back to Earth, developed, and were then scanned and put online. And as you're looking at this, I mean, this has always looked like a ship to me. It appears to even have a structure sitting on top of it, something like you would think of a cockpit. And yeah, I mean, it looks exactly like what we're seeing in this artist's rendition. Furthermore, we have spotted these things proliferating out at Saturn, floating amongst its ring system. Now, again, if you followed the channel, you know we've spotted these things above Mars as well. We've seen them countless times over Earth. And even, some of the earliest UFO pictures online, including the very first UFO photo ever taken, is of not a flying saucer, but of, you guessed it, a cigar-shaped object. Oh, and by the way, the European Space Agency has also said that the object is red in color, and that it is made of, quote, dense rock or metal, and that measures around 400 meters long and around 40 meters wide, which, almost seems like the perfect size if you were to build such a spacecraft. So, very mysterious. You guys tell me what you think down below. It's obvious that we're not going to get any real information from NASA or from the ESO, but I think you have to use your common sense as well. So look at all the evidence, make up your own mind, and I will see you all back in just a bit. Stay safe, guys.